Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What's up YouTube, it's JackalGoldKick, and in this video I'm going to be doing a movie review for The Batman from 2022. So The Batman is the newest Batman film that came out this year in 2022, starring Robert Pattinson as Batman, Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, what's his name, Jeffrey Wright as Jim Gordon, Colin Farrell as Penguin, Paul Dano as the Riddler, and then another one of the characters is played by, I don't know the actor's name, but he was in Transformers, he was in Anger Management with Adam Sandler. So those are some of the actors you have, as well as Andy Serkis as Alfred. And it's the newest Batman film that came out in 2022. I watched it yesterday to check it out and to see what I think of it. And after watching it, I'm going to tell you my opinion of what I think of it and review it. So, when I saw the trailers for this film, I was interested in it and I thought it looked good, and I heard good things about it. So I was pretty much kind of excited or interested to check this movie out. And as you can tell from the title, I didn't really like this film. I watched this movie and I just really wasn't a fan of it. I didn't really enjoy the Batman 2022. I just wasn't a fan of this movie, and I'll get into why I didn't like this film. So with the Batman 2022, what they basically went for with this film is they went for more of like a detective take on Batman, more of a detective take. I read that one of the influences for this film was Seven with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman, which I'm not a fan of that being an influence because I tried watching Seven with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman, wasn't a fan of that film, couldn't really get into it, just I didn't like it. I didn't even finish the movie. So the fact that it takes influence from that film already is a big reason why I wasn't a fan of this film, because I didn't like Seven. So if it's influenced from that, then I'm probably not going to like this, which I didn't like this. But, I feel like when you're influenced by a film that I don't like, I'm not going to like you, if that makes sense. So that's one of the things I don't like. They're influenced by Seven, and I just wasn't a fan of Seven with Kevin Spacey and, Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt. I just wasn't a fan of that movie. So the fact that was an influence for the Batman 2022, that explains somewhat why I don't like the film. But yeah, I didn't really enjoy the Batman 2022, and before I talk about this film, I want to say that I know there's a lot of people out there that like this movie. I know it has positive reception and positive reviews. It generally was received well. And, it's fine if people like this movie and they enjoy it, and, it's fine. Everyone has different tastes. But personally, I wasn't a fan of this film. Personally, I didn't enjoy this film, and I'm going to get into why that is. So if you like the movie, that's fine, but I really didn't like the movie myself. I wasn't really a fan of it. I'm going to get into why that is. When it comes to superhero stuff and the Batman genre, like when it comes to superhero stuff, I would say I'm indifferent with it. I'm not hardcore into superhero stuff, Like I'm not like super passionate about it like I am with horror and things of that nature, but I don't hate superhero stuff. I'm indifferent with it. I'm casual with it. I don't mind it. I mean, one of my favorite games of all time is Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1. I like some superhero movies, but I'm not hardcore into it. One of those reasons being that it's a very fatigued genre. I mean, they do way too much superhero stuff nowadays. They need to slow down on it. There's too much superhero shit nowadays to the point of exhaustion and just being fucking fatiguing. They do too much of it, in my opinion. And I'm just not hardcore into it. I don't really read comic books. There's certain superhero films I revisited as an adult, like the Spider-Man films with Tobey Maguire, X-Men 1, things of that nature that I wasn't really a fan of. So I'm not like hardcore into superhero stuff, but I don't hate it either. I'm casual and indifferent when it comes to superhero stuff. I can like some of it. So I would say that I'm not a hardcore fan, but I'm not a hardcore hater. I'm kind of in the middle of superhero stuff. I'm casual with it. I don't mind it, but I'm not like hardcore into it, if that makes sense. So yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe one of the reasons I didn't, well, I don't know if I want to say that, because I was going to say that maybe one of the reasons I didn't like this film is because maybe I'm just not into hardcore into superhero stuff, and maybe it's because I'm not a fan, maybe it's because of the Batman status and how I think of Batman, because what I want to explain, when it comes to Batman as a character, I remember liking the first Batman movie with Michael Keaton. I haven't seen the second one. Haven't seen the other two. I heard bad things about the one with Clooney. Heard mixed things about the one with Kilmer. I liked the Nolan Batman films years ago, though I did revisit Batman Begins, I think, or whatever it's called. Wasn't a fan of it. It didn't hold up. But I remember liking The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. I remember liking those two movies. And then I haven't seen those in years though. And then Batman v Superman, I wasn't a fan of that movie. Didn't really care for Ben Affleck's Batman. I didn't like the voice effect he had as Batman. I just wasn't a fan of it. And then I wasn't, Justice League I didn't care for. Ben Affleck as Batman, wasn't a fan of him. So when it comes to Batman, and I remember liking Arkham City, though I haven't played those Batman games in years. So from what I can remember, I would say I am a fan of Batman from what I can remember, though I haven't revisited the series or the character itself. Maybe if I revisited the Keaton one and the games, maybe I wouldn't like him anymore. This, I'm not going to rule that out. This could be maybe a case of me just not really liking Batman anymore because Spider-Man was a character I thought I liked as a kid, but then I revisited a lot of his stuff when I was older and I wasn't into it anymore. So I'm not going to rule that out. One of the reasons wasn't a fan of this film, it could have been because maybe I'm just not into Batman anymore. I don't think it has something to do with the superhero stuff because there were some superhero films I liked. Like I liked The Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton. I liked Captain America Civil War. I liked Blade and, things like that. So I don't hate the superhero genre. So like I said, it could maybe be a case of me just not being into Batman anymore. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't revisited Michael Keaton's Batman or I haven't revisited the Batman game. So, I'm leaving that in there. I mean, like I said, I can't really confirm and deny it myself because I haven't revisited enough Batman stuff nowadays to know if I'm, into the character or not. But I remember liking the character, so that's what I'll say about that stuff. But yeah, when it comes to the Batman movie from 2022, this newest Batman film, like I said, it's fine if you like this movie. I know it has positive reception, but I personally was not a fan of this movie, and I didn't really enjoy it, despite thinking it looked good from the trailer, despite hearing good things. I just wasn't a fan of this movie. I'm going to get into why I wasn't a fan of this movie. So when it comes to the cast, I think a lot of the cast is good. Like I think Colin Farrell does a good job as Penguin. I think that Zoe Kravitz is all right as Catwoman. I think that Jeffrey Wright is all right as Jim Gordon. I will say I'm not a fan of the race swapping. This isn't me coming off as racist at all because I'm not racist, but I'm not a fan of race swapping characters. If a character was made to be a certain way, you keep the character that way. Period. I don't care. If you want black people in a Batman movie, then use characters that are black. They don't change the skin color for Blade. They still haven't for the new one. So why are we doing this for Jim Gordon and Catwoman? I never liked race swapping characters. I know, a lot of people don't like race swapping. Some people, it doesn't really bother them. I'm on the spectrum where, these actors, they did their jobs, but I'm still just not a fan of race swapping. I feel like if a character is made to be a certain way, you keep the character that way. Period. And I don't like the concept of race swapping a character. It's not something I care for, and I don't think it's needed. Just keep the character the way it was intended, in my opinion. But I think they do fine, and I think, like I said, Jeffrey Wright does all right as Jim Gordon. Zoe Kravitz does decent as Catwoman. Paul Dano does pretty good job as Riddler. He's a pretty good Riddler in the film. I thought he did a great job as Riddler. Robert Pattinson, though, this is one of the reasons I don't like the film, and this is one of my critiques with the film and why I wasn't a fan of it. I don't like Robert Pattinson in this movie. I think Robert Pattinson, I don't know how to say his last name. Is it Pattinson or Patterson? Because there is no fucking ER in there. I don't fucking know, but I'm just going to say it how I think I know. But when it comes to Robert Pattinson, I think he's a good actor. I've seen him in this movie with Guy Pearce. He was in a movie with Guy Pearce called The Rover. He was good in that. He's a good actor on its own, but I think he was a bad choice for Batman. I don't think he was a good choice for Batman. I didn't really like him as Batman. The reason I don't like him as Batman is because he just seemed bored as Batman, and he lacked charisma. He lacked energy. I didn't really care for Robert Pattinson as Batman. I think he was a bad choice for Batman. All those people that were misjudging him and saying that, oh no, the guy from Twilight is Batman. I think they were right, in my opinion. This is one of those cases where they were right to judge a book by its cover, because to me, Robert Pattinson is not a good Batman. I don't care for him as Batman. I really don't. I haven't seen the Clooney Batman, but I might go on a limb and say he's probably my least favorite Batman I've seen so far. Like I said, I haven't seen Batman and Robin, so I can't really speak on that version or the one with Val Kilmer. But based off the Batmans I've seen, I think he's my least favorite, and I think he's the worst one in my opinion. He does well in fight scenes. The suit looks cool. And he's not a terrible actor, but the reason I don't like Robert Pattinson as Batman and why I think he's a bad Batman is because he lacks energy, he lacks charisma, and he just doesn't have any of that in his performance as Batman. He has a very melancholy, sort of emo feel to him where he doesn't really he lacks energy, he lacks charisma. And look, I get what they're going for with this movie. They're going for something dark, kind of horror like. There's certain shots in the movie that are kind of like a horror movie. Like there's a shot of the Riddler in the background only showing his eyes, so it does feel like kind of a horror movie at times, detective type 7 film version of Batman. Gotham City itself is very goth, no pun intended, very dark. The movie's mostly set dark at times. It just has a dark, dirty look to it for the most part, not really set daytime. So that's what they were going for like a dark film. And I get that, and I get that Batman went through some stuff and lost his parents. I'm not saying he has to be a happy-go-lucky guy just strolling through the streets, smiling, sunshine and rainbows. No, but it's just like, I get that this dark stuff is going on. You're going for a dark film, and I get that the Batman, is emotionally affected by the death of his parents and things of that nature. I get that he's not supposed to be. I'm not saying you have to make him a happy-go-lucky guy, but come on, there could have been some more energy and charisma into Robert Pattinson's performance. I understand the melancholy, sort of dark approach to this version of Batman, but I still feel like he could have had some energy and charisma to his performance. It just felt like he was sleepwalking in his performance. He lacked energy, he lacked charisma. Even the fucking Crow movie didn't have this issue. Rest in peace to Brandon Lee, by the way, but the Crow movie from the 90s, Eric Draven, that was a dark movie. Eric Draven went through some crazy shit. And even that movie, as dark and goth as that movie was, Eric Draven still had some charisma to him. He still had some energy to him, even despite it being a dark film. So it's like, what's Robert Pattinson's excuse, Like I said, the Crow movie, Brandon Lee had charisma. He had energy to his character, even despite it being a dark film. Whereas Robert Pattinson, I understand what they're going for here, and I get that he, went through stuff and they're going for this melancholy feel of Batman, but I just feel like Robert Pattinson as Batman, he lacked energy, he lacked charisma, and there just wasn't no energy or charisma to his performance, whether he's Batman or even Bruce Wayne. He's like the same with both characters, which is kind of weird because Bruce Wayne's usually supposed to put a front compared to Batman when he acts different, but maybe they wanted to do something different this time. But I don't know. I didn't like Robert Pattinson as Batman. I think he was a bad choice. Like I said, the problem with Robert Pattinson as Batman is he lacks energy, he lacks charisma, and he needed more energy, he needed more charisma. There's not even like a lot of moments where he yells or gets really angry or, psycho like. I mean, maybe you get that here and there. And like I said, he does good in the fight scenes. His suit does look pretty cool. The Batmobile looks alright. I can't remember much of the design because the movie's like very dark, so I can't really remember the design for the Batmobile. And like I said, he does well in fight scenes. He's not a terrible actor. It's not like on the level of like Bruce Willis or Steven Seagal in their later movies and how bad they were. But at the same time, I'm not a fan of Robert Pattinson's performance in this movie. I'm not. I just think he's a bad Batman in my opinion. He does well in the fight scenes. He looks good in the suit, but his performance I just wasn't a fan of. I wasn't feeling his portrayal of Batman. He's easily my least favorite Batman I've seen. Just not a fan of him. Lacks energy, lacks charisma. He needed more energy into his performance, more charisma. I get that he's a melancholy version of Batman. I get he went through some stuff, but he just lacked energy and charisma in his entire performance. He talked low for the most part, very, very low. I mean, it's cool to use his regular voice, but he just talked low for the most part, lacked energy, lacked charisma, and I just overall wasn't a fan of his portrayal as Batman. That's a big reason why I didn't like the film. And I think he was a bad choice for Batman. But most of the other actors do their jobs well for the characters they play as. And like I said, if you like the film, that's fine, but I wasn't a fan of the movie. So the entire concept of Batman 2022, the movie itself, is pretty much you got, Batman. He, his parents are dead, and he fights crime in Gotham. And while he fights crime in Gotham, he works with Jim Gordon, trying to figure out who's behind these murders. Trying to figure out who this Riddler person is. You also have Catwoman in the movie. She has her storyline. Batman interacts with her. One of her friends dies. She's trying to figure out who killed her friend. And then you have Penguin in there from time to time. Then you also have some stuff that goes on with Batman or Bruce Wayne and Alfred when they interact with each other. So you have some stuff going on there. And then you also have some stuff going on with Falcone, I think is his name, the mayor who used to know Batman's dad. He's in the movie, some stuff going on with him. I like the actor who plays him. He was in the Anger Management film, one of Adam Sandler's movies. So he does a pretty good job in the film. So that's pretty much the overall general concept of the film is Batman's fighting crime, but also trying to solve these murders and who's behind it, and also stuff going on with him and Alfred. Interacts with Catwoman while also interacting with Penguin, and you get him interacting with Falcone later on. It's a very long film. It's like almost a 3 hour movie, which I think it was way too long. To me, length for a film is not all the time, but I would say length for a film, like when it comes to movies, I would say I don't mind if a movie is long as long as it doesn't feel long. Like a movie that didn't feel long, that feel like it had a good length that made sense was the movie Heat with De Niro and Pacino. I liked that movie. That was a very long movie, and I didn't feel like it was almost 2 or 3 hours. So I think that movie was justified being that long. Whereas the Batman, I don't think it's really justified being that long. It's a very long film. It did not need to be that long. You could feel the length. At least I could. I could feel the length. I could feel how long it was. So it was definitely a very long film, and I'm going to try to review it. Reviewing movies is something I don't do all the time. I like to try to do more of these, so I'm not going to be the best at it. It's something I got to do more and more of so I can get better at it. And I'm going to try to remember everything that happened from the movie, but it's going to be hard. It's a 3 hour film. So the Batman movie, when it starts with you have the Riddler. He's spying on these people in this house through his view. And then after he's spying on him, the guy's like watching something on TV. The Riddler goes into the house. You get a shot of him in the dark with his eyes, which is a pretty cool shot. Pretty cool, I guess you would say cinematography, if that makes sense. That's what it is for filmmaking. The cinematography in this film is pretty good. There's no like shaky cam. It's done well in terms of how it's filmed. It really is. So, I do like the shot of the Riddler, with his eyes shown. It's a good shot, and you get that scene where he's watching TV, and then the Riddler kills this guy, and then after that happens, you have this scene in like the subway train with these gang members that have these painted faces, and there's like a guy with him that's half of a painted face. He's kind of a young kid that doesn't know if he wants to be in this gang or not. He's kind of just conflicted about it, and there's someone else in the train that is about to get off it, and they're going after him while they were watching something on a phone. So they go after this guy, and they all huddle around him outside of the train. They're going to do something to him. They're going to have the new guy, the new blood, do something to him. And then Batman shows up. He has a little bit of an interaction with the guys, and you get this action fight scene where Batman beats up all these gang members, and it's a pretty good action scene. It's well done. There's no shaky cam. It's a good action scene. The action in this movie is good, and it's handled well. The action scene is done really well. I do like this action scene. It's done well, and it's a good action scene of him beating the gang members up. It's a good scene, Like I said, I'm not a fan of Robert Pattinson's Batman. He lacks energy. He lacks charisma in his performance. He needed way more energy and charisma into his performance because he was way too sleepwalky, way too low talking, way too melancholy. Well, I don't get what the excuse is for him to act this way. Like I said, the Crow movie was a dark film, but Eric Draven still at times had charisma and character to him, whereas like Robert Pattinson, he just lacks charisma and energy, and I didn't like that. He needed to put some extra oomph into his performance as Batman, something into it, and that's one of my issues with the movie. But it's a pretty good action scene, and I think after this scene, the young kid runs away or something. And then I think the next scene, I don't know if it's the same kid, but somebody goes into a convenience store wearing some kind of mask, and they try robbing the place. And then he gets out of there. He sees the bat signal in the sky, and he runs away. And then I think Jim Gordon is looking up at a bat symbol in one part of the film, and then him and Batman go to this crime scene where the Riddler killed that person, and they do some investigating, trying to figure out what's going on here. A cop doesn't let Batman in at first, but Jim Gordon lets him go through with his authority. So it's him and Jim Gordon investigating this house, trying to figure out what's going on and investigating it. And they're at this crime scene after this guy was killed by Riddler. So that's what they're doing. And then like the police chief comes in and gives hell to both of them, hell to both of them. He's an asshole. And at the same time, you have they have to leave soon. And then you find out that the kid that reported this or saw this happen, I don't know if he was related to the family, but you see that it was a kid, so you get a reflection of that and a reflection of Batman. You kind of get a sense, from that scene, I got a sense that Batman could relate to the kid in a way because he lost his parents at a young age, and maybe he could see himself in that kid after seeing what that kid went through. And I think after that scene, they leave the building, and I think I think he goes back to yeah, he goes back to the like he takes the clue with him, the clue that the Riddler left behind at the crime scene. He goes back to you get him entering his home. There's bats. He's by himself. He has the bat suit off. One of the things they kind of went for look wise was he has like this black like eyeshadow around, like Robert Patterson has like this black eyeshadow around his face at times when he's not Batman, which is kind of cool. It reminded me of the Crow a little bit with how Eric Draven dresses as the Crow, kind of. So that's what he looks like sometimes when he's not Batman. And when that's happening, he's in the cave and there's bats. And then Andy Serkis as Alfred, we get introduced to Alfred. Now, Andy Serkis, he's all right as Alfred. You know, he's not terrible. His performance wasn't mind blowing. It wasn't like, oh my God, he's amazing. He was all right as Alfred. He was okay as Alfred. He was decent, I guess, but nothing mind blowing. I think they could have gotten someone a lot better, like maybe Liam Neeson or Mel Gibson. You know, people like that probably would have been a better Alfred. So Andy Serkis, he was okay as Alfred. Him and Alfred talk to each other. They're trying to figure out that clue. And Bruce Wayne is told that some people are coming to the house, I think, for some kind of dinner. So he showers and gets ready, comes down to this table. He's talking to Alfred, and they're trying to figure out, you know, what's this riddle? What's behind this clue? What did the Riddler leave here? And that's what they're trying to figure out. Like I said, through this, movie as we're going along, like I said, the acting is good for the most part. The cinematography is good, but the film is too long, and I'm just not a fan of Robert Patterson as Batman. I think he just gives a melancholy, lack of energy, lacks charisma performance, and the whole Seven detective feel they went for, I just didn't care for and didn't care for that style. But yeah, you have the scene with him talking to Alfred at this table. He's eating, trying to figure out what's in the clue that the Riddler left behind, and then like I think after they do that, they find some picture. After they crack the code, and then after they do that, the Batman goes to this. He goes to the place, like in the picture you saw like Penguin, who was played by Colin Farrell, which that's one of the criticisms of the film is Colin Farrell. He does a great job as Penguin. He looks unrecognizable as him. It reminded me like how unrecognizable Colin Farrell is as the Penguin was very similar to like Tom Cruise in Tropic Thunder. Like when I first saw Tropic Thunder, I did not know that was Tom Cruise. So they did a pretty damn good job. And Colin Farrell does do great as Penguin, but he's not in the film that much, which is unfortunate. And he doesn't really get to do a lot. Never gets to like beat up Batman or fight him like that. So he's not really used enough, unfortunately, which is one of the criticisms of the film. I wish he was used more because Colin Farrell is a capable actor. I liked him in Phone Booth, and he does a good job as Penguin, but he's just not in the movie that much, which is unfortunate. But Batman goes to this place where the Penguin is. He talks to security guard. They won't let him in, so he beats them up. So you get another action scene where Batman's going in this club and he's fighting a bunch of these people, and it's a pretty good action scene. It's another well done action scene where he's fighting all these guys, and it's done well. Then he meets up with Penguin, and Penguin has some dialogue with him saying, "Hold it, take it easy," or something like that. So they talk, and Batman asks him about I think that picture of that woman that he saw when they cracked the Riddler's code, and he's trying to get information from him. And then he also meets Zoe Kravitz, who he doesn't know at first, but this is Catwoman. So he meets her, has a little interaction with her. She comes in for a minute and leaves, and then Batman pushes Alfred against the wall, trying to ask him and interrogate him, or not Alfred, what the fuck? He pushes Penguin against the wall, the glass, to interrogate him and figure out what's going on and figure out, just information from him in regards to who's in that photo. So you have that going on. And then after he does that, he leaves the bar. And then I think, I'm trying to remember, after he leaves the bar, he spies on Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman. Yeah. I'm trying to remember. It's hard because 3-hour film, I only watched it once. But yeah, I think after that scene, he goes and he's basically like spying on Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman. She's going home. She has a friend there. And then she goes in her room and he sees her dressed in this outfit, basically confirming that she's Catwoman. She has cats around her and she dressed up as Catwoman. She leaves the house and she goes and robs this one place, and Batman interrupts her. They have a little bit of a fight scene, and then they have to hide because a cop comes in there. And then the Batman and Catwoman interact with each other after just a little fight they had. So you have that going on in that area. So yeah, you got Batman and Catwoman talking to each other, and I think I'm trying to remember I think what happens next after this scene is, like I said, yeah, you have Catwoman and Batman. They they interact with each other in this scene, and then after this scene, oh yeah, there's a plan to um, like have Catwoman go undercover. So what he does is they go back to Catwoman. Yeah, I'm sorry, I remember now, people. He goes back to Catwoman's house, and it's been ransacked. Her friend's gone. They're trying to figure out what's going on, and you get to see, Catwoman's house and what this place looks like. Where she lives at, so you get a sense of that. Batman and Catwoman interacting with each other, talking to each other, getting to know each other, things of that nature. And like I said, they go to Catwoman's house, and her friend's missing, and Batman sends Catwoman on like this undercover cop type mission where he gives her like these contacts that have cameras on them. So she puts these contacts on, she puts a wig on, and she goes to this club to investigate it. And Batman interacts with her, so it's like an undercover cop mission. He can see through her contact lens. So she goes through this bar, and she, is trying to find information for him. She finds this one guy who is a corrupt police officer, played by Peter Skarsgård. She tries talking to this one girl that knows something about her friend, but she's not able to really get a lot of information. But the main person she interacts with in the movie, or in this part, is Peter Skarsgård's character. But it doesn't last long because she stops listening to Batman since that girl mentions something about her friends. So she leaves and follows that person, tries to interact with him, and then she kind of has to like hide herself and like turn around because I think Falcone shows up or Penguin shows up. Both of them or one of them show up. Falcone is also in this movie. Like I said, he's played by the guy from Anger Management, Transformers film. He does a good job in this movie. So you have that going on. He's in the bar, or she's in the bar, and she has to hide herself from those guys. And then after that, she goes into this bathroom, basically saying, I can't do this. She takes the contact lenses out. Batman's trying to tell her don't. And then she just deads the mission, basically. And after that happens, she leaves. She gets a taxi. Peter Skarsgård's character, he offers a ride, but she declines. He ends up getting in the car, and the Riddler ends up being in this car. And he ends up like getting attacked by the Riddler, played by Paul Dano, who does a great job as a Riddler. It's a pretty good Riddler. I like the design, and he's pretty good. He gives a great performance. And I've seen this actor before. I remember him. I don't know if anyone's ever seen this movie, but I remember Paul Dano from Little Miss Sunshine. That's the movie I remember him from because he was in that movie. Where that girl goes on like a road trip. I remember him from that movie. I also remember him from Prisoners. So he's definitely a good choice for Riddler. He's got that creepy feel and vibe and look to him. So he does a good job as a Riddler. He's in this vehicle, beating the guy up. He puts like this collar around his neck, kind of a bomb collar. Gave me Jigsaw vibes. The Riddler in this movie definitely reminds me of Jigsaw, John Kramer, with like his traps and, riddles and things like that. It gives me Saw vibes, John Kramer vibes. So he does that to his character. And I think after this scene, after this happens, I think the next thing that happens is, I'm trying to remember. So yeah, you got the scene, like I said, he kidnaps a person. And then I think Batman goes back to his Batcave, right? I'm trying to remember. It's a 3-hour film. It's hard to remember all. It's hard to remember all the scenes. But yeah, you have the scene, like I said, with Peter Skarsgård character. He gets the bomb collar on his neck. He's beaten up by the Riddler. I think I'm trying to remember what happens. It's a 3. God damn, man. I hate being stumped. I might have to cut a lot of this shit out. But yeah, I'm trying to remember what happened after that scene. It was like, okay, you had Peter Skarsgård, and you had him in the car. Then after that happened, shit. What happened after that? What happened after that? After the Peter Skarsgård scene, Shit. Hold on, people. Alright, so as I was saying, I'm trying to remember what happened. It's just hard to since the movie was so long. But I think what happened was, like I said, Peter Skarsgård, he's in the car. He gets attacked and put to sleep by the Riddler. And after that happens, I think the next, like I said, I could be wrong. I could be missing scenes. It's hard to remember because it's such a long movie. But I think after this scene, we swap to Batman as Bruce Wayne again. He's going in a car. He's going to this like memorial or Washington Monument. It's kind of like a funeral place. And he's making a public appearance for the first time in a while in his regular suit. He goes there. He meets with this woman that's like trying to become the leader and make change in Gotham, and and then he interacts like with Falcone and Penguin for a bit. He's interacting with Falcone to learn about who he is, and he finds out that he knew his dad, so you get some dialogue between those two. After that, he walks through the building. He talks to this one guy for a minute, and then this guy kind of recognizes him for a bit. And then he walks forward, and you get he walks forward in this area, and he's talking with a woman. After that happens, he's talking with the woman, and you hear like some gunfire and gunshots, and Bruce Wayne turns around and he sees trying to see what's going on, and this car comes through the window, and then the car that comes through the window is the one the Riddler had Peter Skarsgård in, and the cops are swarming this vehicle, telling the person to get out, and the person that gets out of the vehicle is Peter Skarsgård character. So he's out of there, but he has a bomb around his neck, so Jim Gordon has the whole building get evacuated because he has a bomb around him. The set piece here is, it's a good scene, a good area. But yeah, like I said, Peter Skarsgård, he's in that car, he gets out of it, he has a bomb around his neck, and Jim Gordon has people evacuate the building because he has a bomb around his neck. So people leave the building. Bruce Wayne's taking it all in. Before that happened, he saved a kid's life from the car coming in, so you have that happen. A good moment. Then after that happens, I think later on, it's like nighttime. He's in the building, and the Riddler's fucking with him on the phone that's taped to his hand. The Batman goes there. Bruce Wayne comes back as Batman. He interacts with this guy and also interacts with Peter Skarsgård and the Riddler, trying to figure out what's going on here, trying to save this dude. And the Riddler basically tells Batman that this guy, along with a lot of the other people he's been killing and fucking with, are corrupt and they're evil. And I'm trying to expose the truth and unmask the bullshit in this city. That's what the Riddler's goal is. And that's why he has these intended targets and why he's going for these certain people. So you have him doing that to this character, and he's trying to help him out, and the Riddler's interacting with him. The Riddler's kind of crazy at times. He has kind of this live stream thing going on too, where he has viewers and stuff. It's kind of like Instagram or YouTube Live, kind of weird. And then you have that going on, and then while that's going on, you have him interacting with Peter Skarsgård and Riddler at the same time, and the Riddler wants this guy to basically, confess, and so does Batman want him to give up who's behind all this, who does he know, what are the names, who does he work for, but he decides not to give any names, and he ends up just getting himself killed, and the bomb blows him up. The Batman gets blown backwards, or not blown, but basically falls back after an explosion because the guy refused to give up information, so the Riddler kills him, and then after that happens, I think there's another scene after this where, like, after that happens, I think the next scene is Batman and I'm trying to remember what Catwoman was doing at this time. I don't know. But yeah, you have this scene. Then I think after this scene, you have you have this other scene where Catwoman is Catwoman is going after Penguin and his men, and Batman's also going after Penguin and his men. I think this is the next scene. You have this next scene where Batman and Catwoman are going after Penguin and his men, fighting them, and she's fighting them. Penguin shows up, shooting at her. Batman's there as well. They take out his guys, and there's like this huge car chase scene that goes on where the Batman and Penguin are in a car chase. The Batman's going after Penguin in a car chase, going after him. Penguin's driving away. It's a well done car chase scene, pretty long. It's done well. We have this car chase scene with Penguin and Batman Penguin's driving away, Batman's going after him, and then at one point, the Penguin's trying to lose him. He tries to do this trick to get Batman's car blown up, and he thinks he got him, and he's like, laughing about it and stuff when he gets away from him. And then Batman like drives up this ramp after the explosion happens, and he escapes from it. And Penguin looks back like, oh shit, I fucked up. And then the vehicle goes upside down, and you get this shot of Batman walking towards him. Pretty good shot, you saw it in the trailer. After that, the Batman's beating up him, throwing him against a wall, interrogating him. Jim Gordon's also there interrogating him. They're trying to find out information, trying to find out who's Riddler, what are these clues, what's going on, all that stuff, and they're interrogating him. And after that happens, they go to this orphanage he talked about. They go to this orphanage to check it out. When him and Jim Gordon go there, they find people that are on drugs there, and they also find in this place, they find, like I said, people on drugs. They find something there for Batman, and it's shown that Batman is like the next target or the next one to get attacked by Riddler. And then, Jim Gordon sees something, and then Batman leaves. He's in his vehicle. He's trying to get back. He's trying to get back to his home. He's trying to call Alfred because there's a package that was sent there for Batman, and Alfred accidentally opens a package and ends up getting blown up. I thought he died at first, but he doesn't die. He's just very injured, but he almost dies from this explosion that was meant for Batman, and Batman just couldn't get there on time. So after that happens, he's in the hospital. Batman visits there to see if he's okay. So you have that scene, since Batman was his next intended target. And then I think after that, the Batman goes back, and he's like drawing a bunch of clues on the ground. He's mad. He's pushing the table forward. And I think after that happens, the next scene is I know one of the scenes is Batman and Catwoman. They meet on a roof, and they're talking to each other, about stuff, meeting up with each other. And there is a pretty stupid line. It's one of the dumb things about this movie. They're talking about like the villains, and Catwoman says something about white privileged assholes. I'm like, really? Did the movie have to go there? Did it have to get politically correct? Like, that was just dumb. I did not like that. That was stupid. It was a dumb line. Shouldn't have been said. You should have just said rich privileged assholes. Yes, rich people have an advantage over poor people in real life. They do. It would have made more sense if she said these rich privileged assholes or these rich assholes. But no, she has to say white. It's like, why? Like, that's just stupid. That bothered me. So that was a stupid line. You get that scene with her and Catwoman on the rooftop, and then after that, that's one scene you get. Another scene you get is Batman at his home, and he finds out some stuff about his dad. The Riddler's playing this clip on TV or some kind of live stream where you're finding out all this dark stuff and all this history about his parents. You find out that his dad essentially was, you find out that his mom went to a mental asylum, and you find out that a journalist was trying to expose this stuff and put this information out there, and his dad wanted it covered up. He was trying to silence the journalist, but even paying him didn't work. So what he did is he had him killed, and that's what Batman was told. That's something he found out, and it destroyed him because, he was trying to fight crime in the name of the Waynes, and he looked up to his parents. He missed them, and it hurt him a lot when he found this out. When he found out that information, and he found out that his dad had some dealings with Falcone, and that was the one who did something to this journalist, and that's what he finds out. So he goes and talks to Falcone to figure out what's going on. So he's interacting with Falcone. He's talking with him, interacting with him, and they have some dialogue back and forth. They have some interaction back and forth. Falcone basically tells him that, the journalist was going to ruin your dad's reputation. I had no choice but to scare him. Your dad said just to scare him, but when scaring doesn't work, basically imply that you have to kill him. So he seems like a mob boss type of character, and he had to kill him because scaring him didn't work. So after that scene, I think the next scene is he goes to the hospital. He talks to Alfred. He's disappointed. He's ranting about his dad, his parents, and Alfred's trying to tell him that his dad was good. He's trying to clear up the misconception, saying that your dad didn't want the journalist killed, that it was, essentially Falcone that killed him, and Falcone hints Falcone hints that him or someone else is the one that was responsible for his parents' deaths. I can't remember what he said, but I know Alfred sort of hints at Bruce Wayne. There's some hint there that Falcone is the one behind the murder of your dad and he killed your parents. You know, that's sort of the hints there that you get from Alfred. So you get that scene. And then I think after this scene, another scene you get after this scene, I think, is, like I said, you got him and Alfred interacting with each other. Hold on, give me a minute to think for a bit. Yeah, people, I'm just having a hard time. I'm having a hard time remembering every scene in order. And like I said, I'm not really good when it comes to movie reviews. It's not something I do all the time. I try my best, but yeah, I just can't remember what happened next. It's hard to remember all the scenes in this film. Um, but I guess I could talk about some of the scenes I remember. Like, you have a scene where Batman is in he's like caught by the cops, and is like, he's caught by the cops, and he is fighting with them for a bit, and then he wants to escape from there. So Jim Gordon tricks the other police officers, saying, "I'll handle this," and they hatch a plan to have him escape. So he's escaping from there while the cops is coming after him. He does his first wingsuit type of thing where he tries to fly, but then he falls. After that, he's still running from the cops. I think he goes into this building, or there's one scene where he goes up to the top with like this gun that he uses to pull himself to the roof. So that's something that happens in the movie. Some other scenes. There was a scene where he had to investigate another house with a cop, and he tries to find out, what does the Riddler mean? What's his last plan? Because before this specific scene, there's a scene where he meets the Riddler face to face and talks to him at this asylum, and he's trying to get answers from him, and he's trying to figure out what's going on. He's trying to figure out, what is his final plan, what's happening here. So that's what he's doing. And then after that, there's that scene, and then he goes and he figures out that there's explosions. So explosions happen around the town, around Gotham, and there's explosions everywhere. So you have that going on. You see his final live stream. He has an influence on people because a whole bunch of people as Riddlers show up dressed as Riddlers, and they show up to this place to assassinate this person that wants to help Gotham become the new leader. So they kind of succeed and shoot her. There's floods happening, a lot of crazy shit happening. Catwoman's driving through with a bike. You have a scene where where Batman goes to the place where this is happening, where all these guys are dressed up as Riddlers with snipers and they're shooting at people, and he goes on there to fight all of them. It's a pretty good action scene. He's fighting all of them on this big area. And then there's one part where he gets hit by a double-barrel shotgun, and this person he's hanging on a ledge, and this person gets knocked down by Catwoman, and then him and Catwoman saves him, and then Catwoman gets beat up and beat up by the one of the Riddler type looking people, and after that, the Riddler basically tries to. God, this review is fucking garbage, man. Fuck. After that scene, I'm getting fucking pissed off, man. But yeah, after that scene, like I said, the guy that shoots Batman with the double-barrel shotgun, the Riddler tries to. No, the one person dressed like the Riddler tries to. The one person dressed like the Riddler basically tries to hit him with the double-barrel shotgun, and he can't get up and save Catwoman, so he injects himself with this adrenaline and gets all sort of crazy and beats this guy up and almost kills him, and he has to be stopped from doing it. It's pretty cool that he has this adrenaline type thing. It's a shame it wasn't used more in the movie, but it was a cool part. After that happens, he jumps on this electric thing that's going to go in the water and kill people, and he stops it from happening, and then he saves the people. He's getting them out of there, and it's like near the end of the film. Him and Catwoman talk. Catwoman says, "I'm going to go somewhere else. You should come with me." Batman decides to stay behind at Gotham to be the hero there. You get some monologue from him. Some other scenes that happen in the film. Another scene that happened is Catwoman has a guy on the rooftop, and she's trying to like kick him off the rooftop and kill him because she's trying to get information out of him, and she knows that Falcone is the one that killed her friend. Batman doesn't want her to kill this guy or kill anybody because his philosophy is I don't like to kill people because once you kill someone, you cross that line. So he doesn't want Catwoman to kill this guy. She escapes. She pushes him off the roof, but him and Jim Gordon save this guy. And then after that happens, Jim Gordon stays there, and Batman has to go after Catwoman. And she goes back, and she's basically going undercover to basically assassinate and kill Falcone. So she goes there to assassinate him, but it doesn't work out because Batman doesn't want her to kill him. Batman goes there and he disables the power in the area, and as she shoots him, she kind of misses. The power goes out, and then she fights with some guys, and then Falcone comes behind her and hits her with a pool cue stick, and then he's trying to choke her and kill her. She's trying to fight back, but she can't. So he's trying to choke her and kill her. Then Batman shows up and beats him up, and he stops her from killing him. And then Batman is arresting Falcone, trying to get answers out of him. But Falcone basically says, "I'll take these answers. I'll take what I know to my grave." So the Batman's escorting him out of the place. And then Penguin shows up for a bit and almost tries to kill him, but it isn't successful. But Falcone still gets killed and shot. And they find out that the person who did it was the Riddler from this window area. So he's dead. After that happens, Batman goes to this building, and the Riddler's gone. And they find clues there. I think this is the part where they find like a cage with a like a bat in it or something. It's a scene like that. And after that, there's another scene connected to this where they go to the diner and the Riddler is basically giving himself up drinking coffee, and you can see his coffee has like a question mark sign on it. So he gives himself up. The cops arrest him. He ends up in Arkham Asylum, and then there's that scene. Basically, get to see the Riddler unmask, and then some other scenes that happen in the movie. I'm trying to remember. Like I said, I tried to talk about the scenes in order, but it's fucking hard to remember everything that happened from a movie you've only seen once, and it's 3 hours long. It's very difficult to remember. I'd have to watch it a few times to really remember, but I'm not going to because, as I've stated, I wasn't a fan of this movie. But after that happens, like I said, some other scenes I'm trying to remember, some other stuff that happened in this film. Like I said, you had stuff going on with Riddler, Penguin, Catwoman, her story. I'm trying to remember some other stuff that happens. I don't know. I can't really think of any other scenes I haven't talked about that I haven't addressed. When it comes to the Batman film, I can't think of any other scenes. So when it comes to the Batman film overall from 2022, doing a review for this movie, I wasn't a fan of the movie. I wasn't a fan of the film. Didn't really care for it. Didn't really enjoy it. Just wasn't a fan of it. I guess this wasn't really a rant in terms of me being mad and just yelling and saying this is fucking terrible or nothing like that. But I just wasn't a fan of the film. So I think it made sense to put rant in the title to coincide, because I want people to know what I think of the film from the title. I don't want to, I don't want to do a review and, I want people to know going in from the title that this is a negative review. I don't want it to be just called review and people don't know if I like it or I just want people to know. So yeah, I wasn't a fan of this film. I felt like it was too long. I didn't like it being similar to Seven. Going for this detective approach just didn't work. Wasn't really intrigued or didn't really enjoy my time with the film. The race swapped characters were stupid. I didn't like Robert Pattinson as Batman. I feel like he lacked energy and lacked charisma. Easily my least favorite Batman I've seen. Didn't really enjoy the film. Wasn't really entertained with it. Was bored with it. It was too long. Didn't care for the Seven detective approach they went for. Robert Pattinson was, I just feel like he was boring as Batman and definitely my least favorite Batman. I just feel like he was bad as Batman. Some things I liked. The action scenes were good. Riddler was a good villain. Penguin was a good villain. A lot of the actors did well. I liked the actor who played Falcon. Or Falcone, whatever the hell his name is. Can't fucking remember. I like how the film has a serious tone and there's not humor in it. That's cool. The score's alright, though I'm not really huge into grunge rock, Nirvana type stuff, but the score is good for what it is. The cinematography is good. Like I said, the action scenes are done well. But, in terms of things I don't like I said, I'm not a fan of Robert Pattinson's Batman. I think he was a bad Batman. I don't care for the Seven detective approach they went for in this movie. I don't care for the race swapped characters they went for. The movie was just too long. The running time was way too long. And like I said, it could also be a case of me not just, maybe I'm just not a fan of Batman anymore. That could be a possibility in why I didn't like this film. Maybe I'm just not a fan of Batman anymore. I'm not ruling that out, though I can't confirm or deny that because I haven't revisited a lot of Batman stuff in years. Some other stuff I didn't like about the film, I would say, is I just, yeah, I didn't really enjoy the film overall. It just didn't do anything for me. I wasn't really feeling it. Didn't really click for me. And I think, like I said, the reason this movie didn't click for me and why I didn't care for it is because didn't like Robert Pattinson's Batman. The movie was too long. Didn't really find the story or what was going on that interesting. I didn't care for the approach of trying to be like Seven, the movie being detective-like, because I didn't like Seven. I thought it was a boring-ass movie. Didn't like that film, so I don't like the fact that this movie is inspired by that one. Don't like Robert as Batman. I feel like the Penguin was wasted. He was barely in the movie. The one stupid line about white privilege is dumb. Um, Penguin is underused. But like I said, there are some good stuff about it. So in terms of a rating, like I don't know what I would give this movie in terms of a score. Like in terms of a rating, what would I give the Batman from 2022? What kind of rating or score would I give this movie? I would say in terms of a score, I would probably give it like, okay, since I didn't like the film, I didn't really enjoy it. I would say I don't want to be too ridiculous and say like 1 out of 10 or something because there are some good things. I would say to coincide, like I said, I like some of the actors. The action scenes are good. Some of the performances are good. And the cinematography is good. The action scenes are good. So I'd probably give it like a 5 out of 10. Like I would give this movie like a 5 out of 10. 5 out of 10 because, like I said, some of the actors are good. Some of the characters are good. The cinematography is good and the action's good. But I didn't enjoy the movie overall. Didn't care for the race swapped characters. Didn't care for the story overall. I didn't care for the style being similar to Seven. I didn't like Robert Pattinson as Batman. He just lacked energy and charisma. And I didn't really enjoy the film overall. I wasn't like I wouldn't say I hate the movie like some other movies I've watched where I was just completely miserable. But when I was watching the movie, I was just kind of when it first started, I was like, this is all right. And then as the movie dragged on and I finished it, I just felt meh overall. It's a very meh, mediocre film, to be honest. Mediocre film. Wasn't huge on it. Wasn't one of the worst movies I ever saw, but it just was kind of a experience. Wasn't really entertained by it. Didn't really care for the film overall and just wasn't a fan of the Batman 2022. So that's my review. That's my overall thoughts on the Batman 2022. Like I said, people, please let me know. I should have said that differently, but just please let me know how my style is on reviewing movies. I just, reviewing movies is something I'd want to do more often, but, since I haven't done it that much and I'm not the best at it, I need to get criticism and feedback. So I just need to know how my review style is for movies and how it is, what could be improved, because I'd like to review more movies down the line since I am a fan of movies. I have some other movie reviews filmed that I haven't released yet. Like I reviewed We Summon the Darkness. I reviewed the zombie film. I'm trying not to say the Netflix one, the fucking pedophile film, because the names are somewhat similar. The zombie film from 2014, Cooties, not Cuties, Cooties. Fuck Cuties, that pedophile fucking film. It's the Cooties movie with Elijah Wood. Yeah, that movie. Sorry, I got it. Sometimes I get those names are just a little bit similar. That's why I get it mixed up. I got a review for that, the zombie film from 2014. I just, let me know how my review style is. Like I said, I'm sorry I couldn't remember everything from this film and really break it down. And, reviewing movies is something I haven't done too often, but I want to do it more often so I can get better at it. And I just want to know what the best approach is at reviewing movies and, just give me feedback and criticism. I need to know how I am at reviewing movies, what I need to improve, change. Feedback in general is what I need for how I am at reviewing movies because I need to know if I'm severely lacking and need to do better or if I'm just doing bad. That's what I need to know. But I tried my best. Like I said, overall, I'd give it a 5 out of 10. Like I said, 5 out of 10 because I didn't like the film overall, didn't enjoy it, didn't like the aesthetic of being similar to 7. It was too long. Penguin was underused, wasted. Um, Riddler was cool, but you never got a fight scene with Batman and the Riddler. I didn't care for the 7 detective type approach. I didn't care for Robert Pattinson as Batman. I think he was just a bad Batman, lacked energy, lacked charisma. But the film did have some good stuff. It had good action scenes. The guy that played the Riddler was good. Colin Farrell was good as Penguin. Uh, I liked Falcone, I like the actor who played him. So I would say 5 out of 10. That's my rating. Not a piece of shit, but just a mediocre film, and didn't like it overall. Wasn't a fan of it because of the length, the style of it being similar to 7, which I wasn't a fan of. Wasn't a fan of Robert Pattinson's Batman. Lacked energy and charisma, and yeah, 5 out of 10 overall. Wasn't a fan of the movie overall. Just a meh, mediocre film. Wasn't really a fan of it. I think what would have been better is if Robert Pattinson had some more energy and charisma to his performance. If the film was trimmed down a lot to be a lot shorter, you get him fighting Penguin. I think what they should have did with the film, you could have had the detective approach, but get rid of the 7 influence. That's stupid because 7, I didn't like that movie. Get rid of the influence of 7. You could have it be a detective type movie, but don't take influence from 7. Have Penguin be in the movie more. Have some fight scenes with Batman and the Riddler fighting each other. Have some fight scenes with Batman and Penguin fighting each other. Maybe Penguin gets to kick his ass. There should have been more Penguin. There should have been fight scenes with Riddler and Batman. Robert Pattinson should have gave more energy and charisma to his performance, or they should have just picked somebody else's Batman, someone like John Bernthal, Frank Grillo, Thomas Jane, um, even like Norman Reedus. He could probably be a good bat. Anyone else, if Robert Pattinson, give him more energy and charisma, trim the movie down, put some more action in there, have him fight Penguin and Riddler, do all those things. Don't race swap Jim Gordon and Catwoman. Get rid of the stupid white privilege line. Trim the movie down, you know. And if they were to do those things, I think I would like the movie a lot more. If it was trimmed down, if it wasn't as long, there was more Penguin and he wasn't underused, and you had Batman fighting him kicking Batman's ass, Batman fighting Riddler. Like I said, it should have been shorter. Either improve Robert's performance as Batman by having him give more energy and charisma, or just get somebody else to play Batman and get rid of the influence of 7, because I don't like the movie 7 with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman. It just wasn't my cup of tea. I was bored by it. Get rid of that. Shorten the film so it's not as long. Have more, action and things like that. And I think it would have been a better film. I think it would have been a better film overall if they would have went in that direction. But as it stands, not a fan of the movie. I don't think it's a piece of shit, but I'm just not a fan of the movie overall. Didn't really enjoy it. It was pretty mediocre, pretty meh. I give it a 5 out of 10. Like I said, the action scenes are good. The music is decent. A lot of the actors do fine for the most part, except for Robert Pattinson. I wasn't a fan of him as Batman. The action that is there is good. It's done well. The cinematography's good. The film itself, like I said, you can tell it has a budget to it. It's a well shot film. The action that is there is done well. A lot of the actors do their jobs, except for Robert Pattinson's Batman, who I wasn't a fan of because he just lacked energy and charisma. And it was just overall, didn't like the film. Boring. Didn't enjoy it. Didn't care for Robert as Batman. Didn't care for the 7 aesthetic because I don't like the movie 7. It was way too long. They underused Penguin. No fight scene with the Riddler and Batman. The race swapping characters was stupid. And they just, the movie could have been a lot better. Like, this movie really could have been a lot better. I almost wish we could have gotten the one with Ben Affleck instead. I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of Ben Affleck's Batman because I didn't like his, voice changer. But it was interesting that he was a Batman that killed people. That's something different. I honestly wish, I wish we could have gotten the Batman film with Ben Affleck instead of the one with Robert Pattinson, because I think maybe that could have turned out better. Because Ben Affleck, From what I remember, he at least had a bit more charisma and energy. He was also actually muscular. That's another thing about Robert Pattinson. He's not really muscular for this Batman. He's kind of a skinnier Batman. Whereas Ben Affleck, he actually got in shape for Batman. He was big as shit. He was actually killing people. So I didn't love Ben Affleck's Batman, but I wish that he could have gotten his own Batman movie instead of Robert Pattinson. If we lived in a different timeline and the original, because originally that was supposed to be a Batman movie of Ben Affleck, but it didn't work out. If we could have originally gotten that instead of this one, I think it would have been a lot better. It would have been a lot better. It would have been way darker because Batman would have been able to kill people. Which a lot of people didn't like that, but I think, hey, it's a different take on Batman. And much like this movie, like I'll acknowledge, yeah, this is a different take on Batman. It's a different take on Batman. They wanted to go for something different, and I get they were going for something different. But I just wasn't a fan of this take on Batman. Like I said, I would have preferred, the things I mentioned, and maybe if they would have went with Ben Affleck's Batman instead of Robert Pattinson, probably would have turned out better. It would have been darker. You would have had more energy and charisma into Batman's performance. Ben Affleck would have gave a way better performance. Um, and I don't like the voice he had as Batman, the voice effect, but I might have been able to look past that because, like I said, I have a feeling if they went with their original idea to have him in this movie instead of Robert Pattinson, I think it would have been a lot better. You would have had a better actor for Batman. It would have been way darker than this movie, maybe even rated R. Batman would have actually been killing people. It wouldn't have been this like Detective 7 type bullshit they went for, which I'm not a fan of because I don't like 7. And if they would have maybe went with that, something a little bit more popcorn, action entertainment, a lot darker, Batman killing people, villains are a lot more in there. It's not as detective focused, and you got Ben Affleck there instead. Film is shorter. I think I would have liked it a lot more. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't have liked it regardless. I don't know. Maybe Ben Affleck's I wouldn't have liked either, but I would have rather seen Ben Affleck's Batman than this one because this Batman we got with Robert Pattinson from 2022 wasn't a fan of it. Didn't like it. Mediocre. Overall, just meh. Not a fan of it. I give it a 5 out of 10. It has some good stuff going for it. It's not a piece of shit film, but it's one that I didn't really care for and one that I won't be revisiting or rewatching because I just didn't really enjoy it. I didn't care for the 7 aesthetic they went for, and I just feel like Robert Pattinson was a bad Batman and a terrible choice for Batman. He just lacked energy and charisma. He really just didn't do a good job as Batman. He's my least favorite Batman. They could have gotten someone else better for Batman. Like I said, John Bernthal, Thomas Jane, Frank Grillo, someone like that would have been a better Batman. Like I said, Ben Affleck. So that's what I think overall of the Batman from 2022. You let me know what you think of the Batman from 2022. Like I said, movie reviews are not something that I do all the time. I'm trying to do them more often and get better at them. I'm not perfect, but I tried my best and tried to talk about this movie because I wanted to give my thoughts on it. 5 out of 10. Wasn't a fan of it myself. Just didn't really enjoy it. Like I said, my two biggest problems. I think the reason why I didn't enjoy this film is because of the long, almost 3 hour long type approach they went for. 7 aesthetic. That's fucking bullshit, man. My camera sucks. It literally stopped filming even though I still had time left, man. This camera fucking pisses me off sometimes. But yeah, like I said, overall, with the Batman from 2022, 5 out of 10. Didn't really care for the film overall. Wasn't a fan of it. It was too long. They went for this slow pace, slow burn, 7 type of thing. And it just didn't really work for me. As well as Robert's performance as Batman. Just wasn't a fan of this film overall. But you let me know what you think of this movie. I just thought I wanted to do a video giving my thoughts and reviewing it. Like I said, I want to review movies more often. I'm not that great at it, so I want people to let me know how my style is and how I am at reviewing films because it is something I want to do more often, and it is something I want to do more often. And I just hope that the more I do this, the better I get at it. Because it's not something I do that often. I barely do movie reviews, so it's something I want to do more often because I am a fan of movies. Yeah. So overall, wasn't a fan of the Batman for 2022. Didn't like the 7 detective approach, the slow burn approach, too long, and then I didn't care for Robert as. So I would say those are my two biggest problems, and probably the two main reasons why I didn't enjoy this film is the style of it being like a Detective 7 type of thing, being super fucking long, and 2, Didn't care for Robert as Batman. Thought he was a horrible Batman. So those are my two biggest problems, and probably why I didn't enjoy this film. Like I said, if the length was shortened, there was more action. You had more of Penguin and Riddler and Batman fought each other, and you didn't do the stupid race swap shit, and you didn't go for the stupid Seven detective approach. Maybe you could have still did the detective thing, but being influenced from Seven was stupid because I don't like the movie Seven. I can't really explain why I don't like Seven. I didn't finish that movie, but I watched it and I was bored with it. I just wasn't really engaged with it at all, to be honest. But yeah, I didn't care what they were going for with this film, and like I said, let me know how my review style is and how I am at reviewing movies and what I need to improve, and just leave all your feedback. Like I said, this movie had good action scenes and some of the actors were good, but I didn't like it overall. 5 out of 10. Like I said, I think the reason I didn't like it was because of the style of it being like this long movie, similar to Seven, and I didn't like Robert as Batman, and in most cases, I'm not a big fan of long movies. Wasn't huge on the original Halloween or Alien because they were like slow burn type of films, and that's what this went for. So, not a fan of it. Peace.